Can an organization that raises money for children be controversial? What reason could anyone have to criticize a charity that has raised hundreds of millions of dollars to buy equipment for children's hospitals all over Poland? Keep watching to learn what WOSP is and why it gets more criticism than you think. Welcome back to Polsko po Angielsku, the internet's #1 source of information about Poland, probably. Today we're talking about WOSP, Wielka Orkiestra Świątecznej Pomocy, or I guess it roughly translates as the Great Christmas Charity Orchestra, something like that. It's the biggest non-governmental, non-profit charity in Poland. So WOSP's main activity is a massive nationwide event that takes place annually at the end of January. This year, 2026, will be the 34th edition. WOSP was started in 1993 by Jerzy Owsiak, a former television and radio journalist. And that year, it had a very narrow and focused goal: to raise money for the cardiac surgery ward at a children's hospital in Warsaw. It was so successful and the need was so great that Owsiak decided to make WOSP a permanent foundation with the mission of raising money to buy hospital equipment needed by sick children all over the country. Since then, WOSP has grown into a cultural institution in Poland, and the nationwide fundraising effort on the last Sunday in January is one of the biggest events on the calendar. That's when you will see volunteers everywhere with their WOSP heart logo and their boxes for donations. Make a donation of any size, and you get a heart sticker. By the end of that day, everybody, it seems, is wearing a sticker, and lots of money has been raised to go where it's needed most. But the money doesn't just come from millions of small donations. There are lots of other fundraising events, like auctions on Allegro, the online retailer, and concerts everywhere, including the biggest one in Warsaw, of course, featuring some of the most well-known artists in Poland. And just look at what the money does. You visit any children's hospital in Poland, and you will see incubators, surgical equipment, specialized machines, and more with the WOSP heart sticker on them, signifying that it was purchased thanks to the money raised during the event. Each year's fundraising drive has a different particular focus where the money raised will be spent. Recent campaigns have directed money to respiratory health, pediatric oncology, and sepsis prevention. This year's event is focused on digestive health in children. And by the way, just to give you an idea of the scale of the event, every year about 100,000 volunteers assist in practical things like collecting money, of course, on the streets and other logistical support. So the bottom line, WOSP is a very, very big deal in Poland, as it should be. To date, they've raised more than $650 million to help hospitals and clinics get the equipment required to deliver the best care for children in need. So, WOSP must be universally admired and free of controversy, and everybody must be united in the belief that it's a good thing, right? No, like so many other things in Poland and elsewhere, WOSP has become a divisive topic for many because of political reasons. So before this gets complicated and we get into the reasons why people criticize WOSP, let me draw a line here and say that I agree with what they do personally. I think everybody does. But we can still be adults about this and recognize that there are legitimate issues that reasonable people can disagree about. So one more time, just to be clear, I'm not attacking WOSP or what it does. I'm just saying there's more to this topic to explore, and that's what I'm going to do now. You can make up your own mind about the subject, but I'm just trying to give you both sides. Okay, so most of the reasons why WOSP is often a controversial topic start with its founder, Jerzy Owsiak, who is an outspoken advocate for politically liberal causes, and he has been a polarizing figure for as long as he has been a public figure. Over the years, as WOSP became bigger, Owsiak's public profile became bigger, and he became a fixture both in popular culture and the political scene in Poland. The central problem is that the scale of WOSP, an organization that's supposed to appeal to everybody and act in support of all of Polish society, conflicts with Owsiak's outspoken support for one side of the political spectrum and his criticism for the other side. For example, just before the 2023 parliamentary elections, WOSP launched a nationwide billboard campaign with the slogan, Polacy, pokonajmy to zło, wygramy. Poles, let's defeat this evil. We will win. Now, while the fine print specified that the evil in question here was sepsis, people from the Law and Justice Party, that is the opposition to Owsiak, argued that it was a political attack against them. That year, just like every year, WOSP was held in January, and those elections were in October. If you want an explanation for why WOSP was paying for billboards, then you'll have to ask Jerzy Owsiak. The same is true if you want an explanation for why money donated to help sick children was spent on billboards to promote an organization that was already super famous and could get free publicity anytime it wanted to from the media. As a liberal himself, Owsiak supports liberal political figures like Donald Tusk, which makes sense. Owsiak participates in political marches and events that promote liberal causes, which, again, makes sense, and he has every right to do so. But critics from the other side argue that he is using the public goodwill for WOSP to promote causes that maybe half the population agrees with, thus making what is supposed to be a nonpartisan charity a tool for the political left. This political conflict was behind the very long and public battle between Owsiak and TVP, the public state broadcaster. It's too long to go into detail here, but it was so intense that TVP went from dedicating an entire day of programming to WOSP, including showing the concert finale, to completely ignoring it and giving it no coverage at all for 8 years. I'll give you a quick example of how ridiculous things got. TVP actually went through the trouble of digitally erasing the WOSP heart sticker from anyone who appeared on the channel. That's how stupid it was. Yeah, so TVP was definitely childish and petty. But on the other hand, you could argue that Jerzy Owsiak was equally childish and petty because he couldn't put his own personal opinions aside for the good of his own charity. How much more money could WOSP have raised if Owsiak could just stop attacking his political opponents so publicly? TVP and Owsiak have since reconciled, and WOSP is back on TVP, but other right-wing media continue to criticize him and probably always will. Okay, let's look at other criticisms of WOSP that are not related to its founder's personal politics. WOSP is often accused of a kind of moral blackmail, suggesting that anyone who criticizes it is against sick children. If you're not super enthusiastic about WOSP, you hate sick kids. A lot of people resent the feeling of forced participation. If you're not wearing a heart sticker on the day of the event, you are a bad person. Here's another criticism raised by WOSP, but not a criticism of WOSP. After so many years of fundraising and millions of dollars raised, questions are being asked about the Polish government and the public healthcare system. Back in the 1990s, okay, it was a different reality, and every bit of help was welcome and understandable. But after 33 years and counting, how is it possible that children's hospitals in Poland today don't have everything they could possibly need to treat their patients at the highest modern standards? Why do we need a private charity to buy basic life-saving equipment in the European Union in 2026? Does the government feel less pressure to modernize and upgrade healthcare facilities because it knows that WOSP is there to help? Every year, more money is raised than the year before. So why let the public pay for certain things and direct government money elsewhere? That's the argument, anyway. Here's another criticism, but going the other way. Maybe we should give more credit to the National Health Service and put the contributions of WOSP into perspective. The budget of Polish Public Healthcare Service, known as NFZ, is more than 200 billion zlotys a year. Last year, in 2025, WOSP raised more money than ever before, just under 300 million zloty. So every year, the government spends more than 700 times as much money as WOSP, but nobody wears a sticker celebrating NFZ. The massive positive media attention on WOSP and the very focused purpose of the money it raises, helping sick children, combine to create great marketing impact. We know what WOSP does, and we know exactly who they help and how. On the other hand, NFZ has to spend money on remodeling hospitals and replacing tires on ambulances and buying toilet paper and boring things like that. Maybe the NFZ needs better public relations. Maybe they need to better communicate how they help the Polish people, including and maybe especially the children. But the point is that no matter how much good WOSP does, it's really nothing compared with what NFZ does every single year. But whereas we're happy and proud to contribute to WOSP, we complain when we have to contribute to NFZ through taxes. And so you can decide where the problem is here. So there you have it. You know what WOSP is, what it does, some of the controversies associated with it. You are no longer a noob on the topic of WOSP. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe if you like what we're doing here at Polsko Po Angielsku, and we'll see you next time.